Well, it was very profound. I don't know if you've seen Katy Perry talk about it, but she's basically a guru now.
I'm going to tell you something right now. You are officially an astronaut.
Thank you so much.
How do you feel?
I feel super connected to love.
Look at us. We're very wealthy. Don't we look great? Admire us.
Girl, when The Simpsons decides to drag someone, it's never just a joke. It's a cultural event.
I'm much better now that the ladies are back from space.
What were they up there, 10 minutes?
Let's not minimize this. Let's celebrate female astronauts.
That's the other thing. There has been female astronauts. Let's not minimize this.
Katy Perry jumped out of the aircraft and kissed the ground in a painfully cringe moment that has been roasted online.
Lots of other people in the media were embarrassing themselves during this ordeal. Oprah Winfrey actually wept as she watched the all-female team launch into space.
This week, their target was none other than Katy Perry and her glitter-covered PR-slick Blue Origin space launch.
Whoever came up with this title, give this guy a freaking raise. Tell me how this is not awesome. Astronaut.
6 women just did the same flight that...
Yeah.
He didn't.
Oh, I just want to keep hugging you.
And think about how many resources went into putting these women into space. For what? I'm disgusted, literally.
Yes, you heard that right. America's bubblegum pop darling just got torched by the longest-running animated series on TV. And it wasn't pretty.
I hope they can see the unity that we modeled and replicate that and understand that we weren't just taking up space, we were making space.
The crew who flew in space this week on an automated flight by Blue Origin were glam. But you cannot identify as an astronaut.
In a scene that instantly went viral, the show mocked a character suspiciously similar to Katy Perry, blonde, bedazzled, and space-bound, boarding a Blue Origin rocket with the grace of a reality show contestant, not a trained astronaut. The parody painted her launch as peak celebrity excess, cameras flashing, confetti cannons firing, and a mission less about science and more about selfies in zero gravity.
You look ridiculous. Everybody looks ridiculous. This isn't a moment for feminism. That's a dick rocket that was designed, flown, and paid for by men, and you are simply baggage on that rocket. That's all it is.
Astronaut conspiracy theories swirl about Katy Perry's fake Blue Origin space mission.
The message, clear as day. This wasn't about space exploration. This was about attention and the timing. The episode aired days after Perry completed her real-life suborbital hop alongside an all-female crew, including Gayle King and Lauren Sanchez. A mission that, while historically significant, barely lasted 11 minutes. Enough time to break the atmosphere and maybe the internet.
Just show the legendary landing real quick, Rob. This is such a beautiful moment. This may be greater than us landing. Look at it. Look at the way it lands to the ground. None of them break their backs. Look at this. Watch. Wow.
Southwest Airlines, that's just like that. See,
it's a freaking music. It's awesome.
Woman went to space for like 4 minutes. What is she kissing the ground for? Pointing up at the sky.
Katie! Woo!
And to the guy, woo, Katie, yeah. Dumb, bro.
Here's the thing no one wants to say out loud. This Blue Origin flight looked like female empowerment, but felt like PR cosplay.
What is when there's people starving in other countries and we're clapping and cheering. Bro, this is wild. And then Katy Perry steps out, starts kissing the ground. Bro, the stories write themselves. Like, we are living in a Black Mirror episode. Like, what is this, bro? Yeah.
Which one is this, Rob? Tell us.
This is the door being open from the inside.
Watch this.
What's gonna come out of
they're not supposed to open the door yet.
her
Look, they're like, close the door!
Is that Jeff Bezos out there right by the capsule? Kind of hard to see. That is
I have to
correct.
pee.
That is Jeff Bezos, our founder.
He has to step up with the official doohickey thing.
Yes, it was iconic to see an all-female crew soaring into space. Yes, it was visually stunning. But girl, the actual mission, it was short, safe, and sold more like a red carpet moment than a scientific breakthrough. Think, matching jumpsuits, branded photo ops, perfectly rehearsed sound bites. The media treated it like the Met Gala with rocket fuel. And honestly, The Simpsons called that out, hard.
I'm going to tell you something right now. You are officially an astronaut.
Bro.
Not the calf. Stupid.
Let me tell you right now, Katie, you're officially an astronaut.
I guess I'm a freaking brain surgeon then. I can't believe she even said. How do you even format your lips to say something so stupid?
Their version wasn't subtle. They exaggerated everything, from the influencer-style commentary mid-launch to a faux science lab that doubled as a makeup trailer. And guess what? Viewers recognized it. Because whether you love Katy or not, this flight didn't feel like a step for womankind. It felt like a step for brand deals. Which brings us to the real question, and I need you to weigh in. Do you think celebrity space flights like this actually inspire people, or are they just rich people vanity projects dressed up as progress? Drop your take in the comments, because this one's sparking debates in every corner of the internet.
I'm going to tell you something right now. You are officially an astronaut.
Thank you so much.
How do you feel?
I feel super connected to love.
This is so tough.
However, there's been some critics saying some stuff in it.
Really?
Rob, I don't know if you have any of the critic stuff or not. Do you have any of the stuff on how they open a door first and then they have to reopen the door and they have to say, go back in there, and then Jeff Bezos falls. Poor guy's tripping. He's having a hard time.
Enter Joe Rogan, aka the human lie detector with a podcast mic. After the Simpsons episode dropped, Joe went in on the whole thing during his show. And if you've ever heard Rogan drag a pop culture stunt, you already know. He didn't hold back. He laughed at the parody, but beneath the jokes, he made a point that cut deep. He questioned the purpose of Katy Perry's launch and called out the growing trend of treating space like a celebrity theme park. Rogan didn't attack Katy personally, but he did tear into the idea that suborbital flights are being sold as missions. His words? Something like, "We used to go to space to discover new frontiers. Now we go up there to take selfies for Instagram." Brutal. And not entirely wrong. He went on to compare Perry's brief launch to the grueling missions of astronauts past, the years of training, the real risk, the scientific stakes. And now, 11 minutes and a press conference, it's giving zero-gravity tourism with a side of brand activation.
I gotcha. Oh, the moon! You guys, I will have to tell you, look at the moon.
Doing a whole bunch of nothing.
Watching her
Look, I brought my little butterfly.
Here's where things really took off. The combo of The Simpsons and Joe Rogan turned this moment from funny little roast into full-blown discourse. And you could feel the cultural momentum shift. Twitter blew up, memes multiplied. Think. Pieces hit the timeline within hours. Half the internet was laughing. The other half, offended. People couldn't decide whether to defend Katy for breaking barriers or drag her for turning a rocket into a runway. What no one could ignore, the fact that two of pop culture's biggest commentary machines, The Simpsons and Joe Rogan, both independently came to the same conclusion. This wasn't about space, it was about image. And suddenly, what was supposed to be a feel-good story about women in STEM turned into a messy convo about privilege, publicity, and performative progress.
Rob, what else you got? Because there's a bunch of them.
I have Gayle King claiming that it was sexist.
Go ahead and play this clip. Go ahead, Rob.
I don't like that people are calling it a ride. A ride, you never see a male astronaut who's going up in space and they said, oh, he took a ride. We actually duplicated the route that Alan Shepard did. That's why it's called, this particular capsule is called the New Shepard. We duplicated that route. No one said he took that ride. Yeah. It's always referred to as a flight or a journey. So I feel that that's a little disrespectful to what the mission was and what the work that Blue Origin
was. They went on a
space technology.
So, what happens when cultural icons call out a historic moment and the internet agrees? You get a conversation that's bigger than Katy Perry, bigger than Blue Origin, bigger than Joe Rogan's hot takes. This is about how we frame progress, who gets to call themselves a pioneer, and whether spectacle can ever replace substance when it comes to real achievement, because in the end, when the rocket lands, the cameras shut off and the tweets stop trending. What's left?
Look, I understand that it started a lot of conversations, and he was one of many collaborators that I collaborated with.
So The Simpsons threw the first punch, but Joe Rogan, he finished the round. In a now viral segment from his podcast, Joe launched into a full-on deconstruction of Katy Perry's Blue Origin flight, and baby, he didn't even pretend to. Play nice. Between sips of coffee and his signature, "I'm just asking questions" tone, he sliced through the glitter and PR fluff like a hot knife through a vegan protein bar. His vibe? Straight up incredulous. He mocked how the entire launch was framed as this huge cultural milestone, but really, in his words, it looked more like an overpriced amusement park ride with influencer energy. And while that line got laughs from the room, it also hit a nerve online, because he wasn't wrong. Joe pointed out the obvious. This wasn't NASA. This wasn't research. This was a billion-dollar company selling zero gravity to billionaires and branding it as empowerment. And the second Katy Perry stepped into that launch pod with a camera-ready smirk and a full glam squad, the narrative wrote itself.
And think about how many resources went into putting these women into space. For what? I'm disgusted, literally.
And here's where it gets deeper, because Rogan wasn't just taking a dig at Katy for fun. He was calling out the entire culture around it. He asked, what exactly did this flight accomplish? Was there a scientific payload? Were there new experiments? Any data gathered? Or was the whole mission built around inspiration that conveniently doubles as PR for Blue Origin? Spoiler, it was the last one. Joe said, and I'm paraphrasing here, when you're launching pop stars into space for 11 minutes just so they can say they've been there, that's not exploration, that's ego with a jetpack. Ouch. But it hits because there's a disconnect here. Katy Perry's brand is all about being bold, wild, playful, and that energy works on tour. It works at the Met Gala. But when she brings it to a space capsule, suddenly the vibe shifts from girl boss moment to is this what space travel has become?
My gladiator tie on. Maximus. Look at that. My back would have been shattered. You see it? How sick is that? Right? Just like motivating.
This is where the internet started splitting into two factions, and Rogan's reaction played a big part in that divide. On one side, you had people, mostly women, praising the flight as a symbolic win. An all-female crew, Katy and a STEM adjacent. Moment, representation, baby. But on the other side, the Joe Rogan crowd calling it fake, staged, and worse, cringe. And it wasn't just because Katy's a woman. It's because the mission didn't carry weight. It was styled like empowerment, but built like a pop-up event. And the symbolism felt thin. Joe framed it as a victory in aesthetics, not achievement. And whether you love him or not, that line stings because it's kinda true. The press coverage focused more on outfits than outcomes. And when a space launch is treated more like a Vogue cover than a scientific leap, yeah, people notice. And here's what I want to know from you. Seriously. Tell me in the comments, is it still empowering if it's mostly performance? Or does that just turn progress into a PR stunt? Let's talk about it, because this debate is louder than the rocket launch itself.
Flynn, I gotcha. I gotcha, Flynn.
Joe didn't stop at Katy. Oh no. He expanded the critique to everyone using space for social media relevance. He dragged Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin marketing, Elon Musk's obsession with flashy space flexes, and even hinted at a future where influencer giveaways include trips to the stratosphere. It's giving, win a free space selfie with Charli D'Amelio. And honestly, we're closer to that than you think. To Rogan, space used to mean mystery, danger, discovery. Now it means content. And Katy's flight, with its perfect lighting and headline-ready sound bites, this was the final straw for him. The idea that you can buy your way into the astronaut club and then sell that journey like a beauty campaign, it's everything he hates about modern fame. And let's be real, part of us agrees. Because if everything becomes content, what's left that actually means something? Joe's not just poking fun, he's warning the culture. He said this moment signals a dangerous shift, from earned legacy to bought legacy, from pioneering to posturing. And if space, the one frontier that used to unite everyone, becomes just another tool in a celebrity's branding kit, the reverence is gone. The credibility dies. The awe fades. And that's the real tragedy of this moment. Not that Katy Perry went to space, but that it meant so little and looked so good doing it. So by now, everyone's seen the memes. The Katy Perry space edits, the Joe Rogan clips, the Simpsons screenshots, but once the content machine cools down and the trending hashtags fade, what's left? The answer? A growing frustration from the real space community. Engineers, scientists, and former astronauts have started quietly, and not so quietly, sounding the alarm. Because while the world's busy talking about Katy Perry's gravity-defying glam, actual space research is struggling for funding, attention, and public interest. Meanwhile, billionaires are turning space into a red carpet. And influencers are treating it like the new Coachella backdrop. Let's be blunt. Real space innovation is expensive, slow, and deeply unsexy. No one's live streaming orbital mechanics. No one's trending because of thermal shielding breakthroughs. So when Blue Origin, SpaceX, and Virgin Galactic use celebrities to manufacture hype, it works. But it also cheapens the purpose. It turns awe into advertisement. And here's the big fear scientists are whispering behind closed doors. What if public trust in space innovation collapses under the weight of influencer fluff? The irony? While Katy Perry was floating in zero gravity for 11 minutes, women in STEM, actual engineers, physicists, and mission specialists were grinding in labs, calculating trajectories, solving propulsion issues, running simulations, making sure the tech even works. But did they get a Vogue spread? A New York Times headline? A Netflix docuseries? Nope. Instead, the cultural spotlight got handed to someone with the right brand and the right followers, not the right resume. And that's the real damage here. These stunt launches don't just overshadow real science, they erase the women already doing it. Because here's the truth no one's saying: if a pop star in a shiny jumpsuit becomes the face of women in space, what happens to the women already there? Just without the cameras? And seriously, what do you think? Should space milestones be earned? Or can they be borrowed for PR? Drop your answer in the comments, because this isn't just about space anymore. This is about credibility. Now here's where the energy really shifts. The audience is getting tired. At first, celebrity space flights were thrilling. Bezos, Branson, Musk's Tesla in orbit. It was new, wild, chaotic. But now, it's starting to feel hollow, repetitive, predictable, a rinse and repeat cycle of headlines, hashtags, and hot takes. And people are starting to notice the cracks. Katy Perry's launch didn't inspire a wave of awe. It triggered satire, critique, and mockery. That's a major vibe shift. The public isn't eating this up the way Blue Origin hoped. In fact, it backfired. Instead of generating excitement, it exposed how performative these launches have become. It's the influencer effect. Once everything becomes content, nothing feels authentic anymore. And if space, the most sacred, mysterious, unreachable frontier, starts feeling like just another Instagram stunt, we lose something we can't get back. Meanwhile, let's talk about actual space work. NASA's Artemis program is preparing to send humans back to the moon. Mars missions are being planned. Space telescopes are reshaping how we see the universe. And all of that depends on serious investment, serious storytelling, and public support. But the public only has so much attention to give. And right now, it's being eaten alive by fluff flights that contribute nothing to long-term goals. That's not just annoying, it's dangerous. Because when politicians and investors look at public sentiment, they decide where the money goes. If they see the public mocking celebrity launches, they might think space isn't worth funding anymore. Not because the science failed, but because the spectacle got stale. And Katy's launch, whether she meant to or not, she's now part of that narrative shift. So where does that leave us? We're standing at a weird cultural crossroads. Space used to be about bravery, exploration, survival. Now it's being edited into TikToks and Netflix documentaries before the rockets even land. And celebrities, no matter how well-meaning, are blurring the line between contribution and clout. And here's the real twist. If the audience keeps rejecting these missions as fake or shallow, the era of celebrity space travel might crash before it even lifts off. Because if people no longer believe these launches mean anything, they'll stop watching, stop caring, stop funding. And the future of space gets darker than deep orbit. Let's just say it. Katy Perry didn't launch into space. She launched into a brand disaster at 3,000 miles per hour. This trip was supposed to be iconic, a high glam, high gloss, high empowerment flex. She was going to make history, inspire young girls, trend worldwide, and land back on Earth looking like the fearless queen she's always branded herself to be. But instead, she came back to memes, mockery, and a public that suddenly wasn't buying what she was selling. The spaceflight didn't make her look powerful, it made her look out of touch. And when the Simpsons roasted her and Joe Rogan dragged her, the narrative flipped overnight. From pop goddess to space tourist punchline, all in 11 minutes. The thing about Katy Perry's brand is this: it's always been campy, colorful, and a little bit chaotic. In a good way. She's the California girls queen, the lollipop dress legend, the girl who turned heartbreak into glitter and made being weird cool. But space? Space is sacred. Space is serious. And this whole launch clashed hard with her public persona. The jumpsuit looked like a costume, the press conference felt like a TikTok, And when she tried to frame the trip as a moment of female empowerment, it read more like a Netflix teaser than a milestone for womankind. The result? Total brand confusion. Her Gen Z audience saw it as performative, her millennial fans weren't sure what to make of it. And even her longtime stans struggled to defend it online. It wasn't bold, it wasn't moving, it was awkward. And now, instead of being remembered as a trailblazer, she's become a meme template, a cautionary tale for what happens when PR stunts crash into real-world expectations. But here's what made it worse. Katy hasn't really responded. No clapback, no clarification, no behind-the-scenes explanation, just silence. And in today's media cycle, that's a death sentence. Because when you don't own the narrative, someone else will. Right now, the internet is writing Katy's space legacy for her. And it's not a good one. She could have steered it. She could have opened up about why she really went. She could have acknowledged the backlash, leaned into the satire, even laughed at herself. But instead, she's doing what a lot of celebs do when the internet turns cold: disappear and wait for the storm to pass. But this storm isn't passing. And every day she stays quiet, the jokes keep piling up. Here's the part no one's talking about. This launch didn't just bruise Katy's image. It might have permanently shifted how the industry sees her. Brands notice these things. So do producers, so do PR teams. When a pop star takes a major swing and lands flat on her face, the calls slow down. The offers get quieter. Suddenly, you're not the face of innovation. You're the face of a misfire. And for someone like Katy, who's already pivoting from music into TV, investments, motherhood, and legacy building, this kind of public stumble hits hard. Because now, every pitch deck, every interview, every business meeting comes with a silent asterisk. She's the one who did the space thing, right? Not trailblazer, not icon, not mogul. Just the space thing. Let's take a breath here. Strip away the branding, the memes, the think pieces, and what do we have left? A woman trying to evolve, trying to stay relevant, trying to do something bold in an industry that chews up women the second they stop. Being shiny? Did she miscalculate? Absolutely. Was the launch more fluff than substance? Probably. But do we really think Katy Perry planned all this on her own? Of course not. This was a machine, a campaign, a team, a coordinated effort that someone, or everyone, thought would hit. And Katy, like so many women in entertainment, trusted the system, trusted the moment, trusted the brand, and now she's holding the consequences alone. So here's my question for you, and don't hold back. Was this Katy being brave and misled, or was she chasing relevance and it just blew up? Tell me in the comments. I want your honest take. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell so you'll be the first to get notified about the latest drama.